Hello, Jim Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. 3 items. First one is a follow-up to one that I did yesterday. I had discussed an article about rockets falling on Israel from the Gaza Strip. This obviously is not the first time that has happened. There's an organization, a terrorist organization, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, an organization that is even more extreme than Hamas, if you can believe it. Hamas runs the Gaza Strip. They are trying to control Palestinian Islamic Jihad, keep them from launching these rockets into Israel because they result in an Israeli reprisal that more often than not hits Hamas. But it looks like, as I said yesterday, the Israelis are finally fed up. They are fed up with these rockets that come, then they stop, then they come again, and then the Israelis react with just a quick retaliatory strike, or on a couple of occasions, wide-scale operations, but they would always stop short of deposing Hamas or doing any real permanent damage. But it looks like they are finally getting fed up. Today comes another article that just confirms that they really are getting fed up. They are determined to do something about it. So here's the headline: Bennett to Post. And Post is the Jerusalem Post, the publication that has this story. Bennett to Post. 95% chance of large Gaza military offensive in future. There is a 95% chance that Israel will need to launch a large-scale military campaign to remove terrorist threats from the Hamas-run Gaza Strip in the near future, Defense Minister Naftali Bennett told the Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. Quote, "We are ready and the plans have been formulated with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the military. We will give one very last chance to the terrorists to keep quiet, but I don't believe them. They are liars, murderers, and we are going to have to act," unquote, Bennett said. Quote, "It's always a last resort to go to war, but this time it will be on our terms, at our timing, with a very clear vision of the day after," unquote. That seems to reinforce what I said yesterday, since there is a second day of this kind of a report. But also, from what Bennett is saying, the Israelis are addressing a couple of the concerns that I expressed yesterday. Number one, that they have always been really on the defensive. They wait for these attacks to come, these rockets to fall on Israel, and then they retaliate, usually with a quick and limited strike on a Hamas training camp or an office building or an arms depot or something like that. And then they stop, expecting that to be a deterrent, but then a little while later the rockets fall again. And we're not talking about Hamas now, we're talking about Palestinian Islamic Jihad, a much more extreme and uncompromising organization that does not want any truce that Israel and Hamas might agree to hold. If they make a truce, then Palestinian Islamic Jihad launches rockets to break the truce and force an Israeli response, because they hope it will lead to a war in which Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, in their fevered minds, believe will destroy Israel. The Israelis finally, as I said, are fed up, and it looks like, if I read Bennett right, that they are not talking about responding to a rocket attack. Wait for because when you do that, you let Palestinian Islamic, you let the terrorists determine the timing. You're sitting there waiting for them to launch a rocket. It looks like the Israelis are putting together a plan to deal with the problem once and for all, regardless of when the rockets fall. They are coming up with a plan. They are going to get it ready and execute it when they are ready, when they determine is the right time to execute the plan. Number two, the Israelis have hesitated in the past to go full scale and depose Hamas, because the problem then becomes what to do with Gaza after Hamas is gone. Who takes their place? Does Israel really want to govern the Gaza Strip? They don't. So they apparently, when Bennett says they have plans for what happens the day after, they have something in mind, something planned. What that is, I don't know. I have no idea. That's what the Israelis are very good at, by the way, surprises. So whatever it is, well, surprises and innovation. So whatever it is, it'll be a surprise and it'll be innovative. That is my expectation. We'll see what happens. Now, the second item, this is very good news if you're the President of the United States, or if you support the President of the United States, as I do. I have quoted in the past the Rasmussen poll, the daily presidential tracking poll. When Trump was first elected, he was in the low 40s, could have been even lower, but his ratings were very low. Over time, they have risen. And today, well, first I should say what's especially interesting or valuable about the Rasmussen poll is it's the only one, at least that I'm aware of, that daily, every day or 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, polls likely voters. That's number one. Number two, their poll results are a 3-day moving average. So they take 3 days of polling and average them. So each day's poll is not just that day. And then there's also a third element, that they use a robot voice. They have a mechanical voice speak to the people being polled, and then they answer by pushing buttons on their phone, their cell phone or their landline. So those three elements make the poll unique and make it valuable and make it very accurate. They are usually in the top tier of polls after a presidential election as far as their accuracy in predicting the outcome. So what's good about this one is that for the first time, it shows Trump above 50%. Now, he has been, for the past, I would say a couple weeks, been at 49% or 50%, sometimes 48%, but never over 50. But today he is not only over 50%, he is at 52%. And you could be wondering, how does that compare with Obama on the same day in 2012 when he was running for re-election, just as Trump is now? On February 25th, 2012, Obama was at 47%. Trump is at 52%, Obama was at 47%, and we all know Obama was re-elected. So that is very good news. I wanted to pass that along. And this gets us to the last story. This is, I guess we could file this under the wages of political correctness. Burqa-wearing man steals nearly $1 million in jewelry from Piaget in Hudson Yards. A thief wearing a burqa and armed with a spray bottle made off with nearly $1 million worth of necklaces and watches from a Hudson Yards jeweler on Sunday, police sources said. Now, if you're wondering what's Hudson Yards, I can tell you, because as I've mentioned often in the past, I lived in New York, and I'm also a licensed New York State real estate broker. Hudson Yards is an enormous development. It's both commercial and there are condos there along the Hudson River in the, I would say, the low 30s, 30th Street up to, in the low 40s, roughly 30th Street to 42nd Street on the west side. And I could be wrong about that, but it's a very large development on the west side, very upscale, very expensive retail rents, as I can tell you as a real estate broker, and just the fact that Piaget is there. I mean, if they are there, you can be sure it's upscale. That's what Hudson Yards is. Getting on with the story, the bling bandit, and that's what I love about the New York Post, where this story is reported. They come up with these great phrases and great headlines too. That's another story for another day. But the bling bandit, a man dressed in a burqa covering most of his face, walked into the luxury Piaget jewelry store at around 3:55 p.m. and asked to look at a necklace, sources and police officials said. As the clerk pulled out the necklace, priced at about $21,000, he noticed the man was holding on to one of the store's watches, according to sources. When the employee questioned the soon-to-be thief, he whipped out the spray bottle and squirted it in the clerk's direction before running out of the store with the necklace and two watches, one priced at $64,000 and the other $715,000 in tow, police sources said. Piaget, where some watches are so expensive that the price is not even displayed online, valued the loss at around $800,600, sources added. This is where, well, first of all, I'm wondering why women wear burqas, Muslim women wear burqas, but the men don't. So I'm wondering right there why the alarm bells didn't immediately go off in the head of this clerk, this poor clerk who had all this jewelry, almost $1 million worth stolen right from under his nose. I guess he's not getting a raise this year. That's just my wild guess. Well, maybe he will. I mean, is it his fault? Anyways, the political correctness part is that this man's face was covered by a burqa. Now, I once saw a woman in Macy's in a burqa, covered head to toe. You can't see anything, let alone the face. No way to give a description except maybe height and maybe a little bit about weight. But the face, you can't see it at all. Now, we do have, of course, freedom of religion in the United States, but freedom of religion, like all of our other rights, they are not absolute. They do not outweigh a security risk. You can require people who have their faces covered, even if ostensibly for religious reasons. And by the way, Islam, I've read the Quran, it does not require women to cover their faces. That is just a custom. That is not a religious edict. But getting back on track here, it is perfectly permissible for a store to require all customers' faces to be visible to the security cameras. There is no law against that. Now, if Piaget or any other retailer instituted that policy in New York, you can be sure they'd be sued by the city of New York with this liberal far-left Bill de Blasio, who is fortunately not my mayor anymore. But you could expect that the store would be sued. You could expect that there would be demonstrations outside. I would not expect a lot of people, well, I mean, a boycott, let's be perfectly frank here, how many social justice warriors, radical feminists, can afford a $21,000 watch, let alone a $715,000 watch, or anything that Piaget sells. So I don't think they would lose a lot of money from a boycott. That's my personal opinion. But also, they would win the suit. They would win. So, I mean, is it really worth it now to risk a $1 million loss just to be politically correct? So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I would say right now, though, I would not hold my breath waiting for Piaget to institute a common sense policy regarding the visibility of the faces of their customers. And that's it for today. Thanks again, as always, for stopping by. Thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. If you've got any comments, you can put them in the comment section below the video. You can also put any questions you might have in that same comment sections or suggestions for future topics. I would love all of you to subscribe, all of you who have not subscribed, and bring in some more subscribers and more visitors. And finally, I would love all of you to come back and see me again. I would look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.